Hello, Bubby and Zadie. How are you? My grandparents, they call one Bub, they call one Zade. Okay? They call one to its aid. They one call for Bobby Napples. Bubby, Bobby Napples. Zadie to come for the aid because he's the alphabet of Z and A to start it off. ID, taking the ID of the electronic world. That's okay. Bubby, I saw you last night. You know I saw you. I'm quite sure you probably don't remember because it's like in memento. You only remember me for a minute, and every time I said hello, you asked me when I got there. So I understand that, and it's very sad, but I know you're not hurting because you were tired and sleeping. What the most beautiful part of the night was, my ex-wife came with me. Boy, what a travel that was to the hospital. 60 kilometers, 70 kilometers, took over an hour, and all she can complain about was my mustache. Terrible. I had to scream at her, and I don't like to scream. But when we got to the hospital, my ex-wife was like a doll. She went up to my grandmother next to her bed. I was a little frightened to wake her up. I wasn't sure what to say. She went right beside her, grabbed her hand, was rubbing her hand. She woke up and grabbed her, gave her a big kiss. 1, 2, 3 kisses. And it was just so beautiful. My ex-wife just, it's so sad. She's having a hard time in her life, both my grandmother and my ex-wife. But yet, you know, women are very special. They just have something that nobody else can understand, or most of nobody else. I, being from the spirit world, I can understand it. But because I'm just a male human soul, I'm not like them. But I understand when my cat comes next to me in my house and she lies down beside me, I know exactly how to touch her. I am not rough. I could be rough. Sometimes I am, but I'm not. But it was just so beautiful. Sometimes she's not really sure she's in the hospital, but when she wakes up, every time she switches her mind, she knows she's there. And she told us weeks and months ago, we used to go, I mean, it's just so crazy. First, I was going to her house when I was born, every single weekend, going fishing with her, her sisters, my grandparents. All of a sudden, I turned 13. My mind changed. I started going less and less, but I still went there once a week. And even when I started working, I couldn't work anywhere else but down the street from where my grandparents lived. I learned all about the chickens and the pigs from my grandparents. I wouldn't know. I learned all about the little birds from my grandmother because the big bird said to the little bird, her baby, will you take care of me when I get old? And the little bird says, oh, for sure. You're my mother. Of course I'll take care of you. So she took the bird, threw her out of the nest, and we don't know what happened to that little bird. The second little bird, the mother comes up to it, will you take care of me when I get old? The second little bird said, well, you're my mother. Of course I'm going to take care of you. And she took that bird and dropped that bird out of the nest, and we don't know how it happened to the second bird. She comes up to her third bird child and says, will you take care of me when I get old? She says, well, Ma, she says, when you get old, I'm going to have children of my own. She says, we may come and visit you, but I can't guarantee how much time I can give you. And she taught that bird how to fly. And that bird was me. I still feel I never visited her enough. But she's lying there in the bed, and there's never been a death in my family in the wintertime. I'm 50 years old, don't forget, and no one's ever died in the wintertime. But the two oldest people that have died in the wintertime is a great uncle of mine. He died in the wintertime. He was the oldest one of them all. Now she's the oldest one of them all. She's not going to make it. Because if she does make it, all she does is sleep. She can't eat. She had cancer of the esophagus and nothing stays down. She has acid reflux, and I keep telling them to give her something for it, and they won't because they don't believe that. But I know she has the acid reflux. I don't care what anybody says. I'm bipolar, and I've been studying my medication for years. I've had acid reflux since I'm 18. Very painful. So this video is for the star in the sky because I know my grandfather could see it now. As he can hear me listening, as he only can hear the words that I want him to hear. But all the words, if I go to bed with a woman, he doesn't hear those words. If he wants, he can check up, but it won't mean the same to him as it does to us. I said, before my book ends, my book can never end. And I know she was out in the 90s when I started this book. And I said it couldn't end until she reached half my age. And 3 and 5, one more month for each, which is 35. That's the 35th President, John F. Kennedy. There have only been 44 presidencies in 57 terms of 43 different presidents, in which one president died 32 days after office, in which Roosevelt was in presidency of 12 years and 32 days. 42 days, if I remember correctly. My dream last night is we were out somewhere in the jungle, flying in this flying truck. And when he went to park it, he parked it in a tree, 100 feet off the ground. When we went down to the ground, we were chased by a bear. Chased and chased and chased. And the only thing I had in my hand was a shovel. The shovel was a pick. That's what they call it in French, which means a spade. A spade is the other side of who I am, of who we all are. We're the spades. The presidents were left-handed. I don't know which ones, if not all of them. But the left-handed president represents the king of diamonds, which is one who controls the north, east, west, and south. My other dream last night, we went for a drive in one car. I ended up with this girl in another car, and she worked at a bowling alley. We went to the bowling alley. I was wearing my yellow glasses. In the parking lot was old cars, like we were parked by a steel mill. Pennsylvania, freedom. Pennsylvania, freedom. The steel mill. There's a bowling alley out in nowhere. And then a whole bunch of happy people walked in from some kind of movie theater, and they wanted me to bowl with them. And somehow I ended up naked, but then dressed again in my pants, and I was able to take off my coat. And then the dream ended. Oh, the dreams are getting clearer and clearer. I'm able to see. But my book, back to my book, I couldn't end it until she was 30, until the age of that it's right now, and she falls exactly sick right now. And the 25th, John F. Kennedy, is the 35th president, but 25 is another one of his numbers, and the 25th president, William McKinley, was assassinated. So was Abraham Lincoln, James Garfield, William McKinley, John F. Kennedy. There were 4 others that died from natural causes. WHH, which was the 9th president. The 9 is birth. Richard Nixon is knocked out as the 37th president. That's the totality. That's 0 on the wheel. He had to go out. 9 is the birth, so that means another 0. You must be 35 years of age, which is another part of the number that kick off, and another part of my numbers. 35 and 75 make the numbers. It's an angle cross. It's a suspenders this way on the telephone. In the Constitution, the 25th Amendment, okay, X and O in Roman numerals, basically, the O is always going to remain as 15, but the X moves around. It's 10. That is 25. 25 times 9 is 225, which is just like 15 times 15. That is center. It's all set up. They're following the Jews. They're following the Jews. They're following the Torah somehow. Because all these numbers in my numerological fit the Torah. Toro, Toro, said the man. Do not forget how the H is silent. In 1789 is the first president, H and I. To add the first president's initial is G. 7, 8, and 9 plus 9, 8, and 7 is 1776. It also stands for 777. Herbert Hoover, a repeating president's name because there are more than one. Herbert Hoover, Ronald Reagan, Woodrow Wilson, Calvin Coolidge. All double initials. All are very strong in my numerological face. 40th, 31st, 28th, 30th. January, February are those 2 months. But the 30th does not go in a row. Ronald Reagan, 2 R's, 40, because the game is all about race. All the corners are R in the Monopoly. They're P or and R because the R and P have a top eye. Only one eye at the top and a leg to stand on. There's been 2 presidents that were C presidents, and that was Chester Arthur and Calvin Coolidge. There were none with the E. That was C and E. Benjamin Harrison is one with a B. There are others. All the J's, there are more JGs than anything. And the French, G and J and G, well, that's another part of the game. Because the French is part of the game, and so is the English. Everything connects. I just found someone out who's trying to tell everybody how the roulette wheel works, and he doesn't know he said something in there. And it fits so perfectly. People don't see it, but he gave me the numbers. They just came out with something new in roulette. They call it the orphans. They call it orphelin, but I know it's better to call orphan children. Puppets on a string with a soul that have no meaning unless the spirit comes down here to give it a meaning. It's up here, my friends. We're not here. It's electronic. We come in. These bodies are robotic. We grew them like plants. The missing pieces for the monkeys is because of Scientology. They come here and they added in the effect how to build the right human out of this skin. Now the job has been done because now they have the iRobot and they turned the robots into how to think like humans now. See, they had to give them a human soul of some sort. Well, that just happened. But they can never be perfect because they're just going to be like humans at the end. Raphael, 7286, in the constellation of Pegasus. One other thing I wanted to show you is how, I'm going to have to turn the page for this. I'm going to draw this up. I'm going to try and show you. Okay, do you see this? Okay, now let me finish it off. I'm still going here, don't worry. I want to do this right, so. You know what I love? I have a, listen. I got something that sharpens my pencils. It's so much more fun. My car doesn't work anymore. My windshield is broken. I lost my phone. I'm broke and have absolutely no money. But in life, if you have this and you have paper, you have everything. R and R. 5, 2, 1. M. This is supposed to be a B. I'm supposed to cut the corners on this, 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 and this. You're supposed to cut the corners. It's 512 megabytes. R and R. The 36th letter. 512 plus 36 is 548. 5 is the center, so now I can do it. 548 is 240. 240 hours and 10 days, in which there are 6 days, 1 day, and 3 days. 6 days awake of 16 hours times 6 is 96. 3 days awake of 16 hours is 48. Total, 144, 144,000 midway angels. 8 hours of sleep of 6 days is 48. 3 more days of 8 hours is 24. 72. 72 times 5 is the 360-degree cycle. The 19, they talk about the moon. 19 by 19 is 361. That's why I don't count the leap year, because the Earth moves 1 day, 360 plus 1.041 days. That's because we're moving around the sun. So we're not moving straight. We can be moving around this way and straight, but we're not. We're moving this way and this way at the same time. So it's no longer the amount of days, 361.1. It's now like 1,200 days to go around the sun. Or it's 72 days to go around the sun in a spiral action, makes you 360 days. The reason for one of the days and the extra time in the year is this right here. This is the mind. This one goes to this one goes to this one. This one here is 15 by 15, it's 225, plus 3 makes it 525, 180 and 180 plus 525, 365 days in a year. And it states it right away, 613 laws of Moses, 365, and 248 is 96. 365 is 195, and that's the angle of the Aleph letter, the olive tree. Raphael 7286 in the constellation of Pegasus. Monkeys, did we come out of monkeys? Did we come out of a barrel? Monkeys, barrel, over Niagara Falls. We are all numero uno. I don't know all the games. And then there's this card. The cards talk. These two dots and these two dots. Yod and Yod. Yod, 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 Yod. 40. There's so many ways to do it. The initials, the first initial, the last initial, the year they came in, 4 assassinations, 1 resignation, and 4 died in office. 9. The 9th president is the one who lasted the least. The 30th president, I think, was it, who was it? Truman, or, I have to look this up. I sometimes don't remember. Sorry about that. Roosevelt was the longest. I didn't mark down his presidency. I don't know why. There are 2 presidents, Chester Arthur, and he was none. We did that. Then there's president's initials, and there's also the American flag, which I talk about, and Thailand starts with a TH, which is 4th and above, and ends with an ND, which is 2nd. So it goes all the way around, okay, from 4th, and comes all the way to 2nd, leaving out 3, because that's where you are, 2, 3, 4. The second thing to look at, which is pretty simple, is this. Do you see it? Let me see if I can show it to you. Oh, here it is. THIRST, thirst. INR, the 9th and 18th letter. STNDRDTH. These are the way they work. 4th, 2nd, 1st, 3rd. There's a combination. This is not. Stop thinking you get up in the morning, you go to work. It just doesn't work that way. There's a lot more to it. This is a numerological, Scientological fantasy land that we are in. It ends at the end of October of next year. It goes into overtime because the new light comes in and we continue on to a new light. Now, it's all really high-cock and boorish or garnished or whatever you want to say, and it really never meant anything to me before, and it's very hard to believe, even for myself, even while I tell you all this. But yesterday I was a little upset. On Alfred Wember Lambert, he put some guy there saying that he was the angel of light, and the chosen people have already been taken up of 144,000. The rest have to wait. It's not possible. We would have known already. People would talk. No, now I find out all he's looking for is the cash. And he's a little bit wacko in his head, but that's okay. So am I. Thank you.